So what does this CO2 report tell us about land clearing in Australia that we might not already have known? And more importantly, probably, what does it tell the federal government that it might not already have known?
Yeah, so the CO2 report's a really groundbreaking piece of work. What it does is it demonstrates that land clearing in Australia is once again out of control. In Queensland, we've gone from a situation in 2010 where about 70,000 hectares of bush were being cleared a year to one now in 2014 where nearly 300,000 hectares of forest and woodland are being cleared. Now, that's a direct result of the weakening of land clearing laws by the Newman government. The CO2 report also tells us that the same things are being contemplated in a number of states and jurisdictions across the country, and that's happening right now in the New South Wales jurisdiction with Mike Baird looking at the tree clearing laws. So it tells us that tree clearing is on the increase, and it tells us that the regulatory environment is being fundamentally altered, and it's being altered in a bad way. What it tells the federal government is they've got a major problem. The centrepiece of the national government's emissions reduction strategy involves the buying of large numbers of tree clearing permits in places like Queensland and New South Wales to reduce carbon emissions. Now, you're getting a system in place now, a ridiculous system in place, where the national government is investing billions of dollars of taxpayers' money to buy tree clearing permits, to save trees and to store greenhouse gas emissions, and at the same time you've got the states weakening those powers, increasing land clearing and creating this mad continuous cycle of buying emissions, using taxpayers' money and then handing out new permits and more emissions being created, and that's going out of control. So, you know, of all the sectors in Australia, the land-based sector, which includes the tree clearing, is the only one where emissions are dramatically increasing over the last 3 years by some 73%. That's a big problem for Greg Hunt, it's a big problem for Malcolm Turnbull, and it's a big problem for a national climate policy in Australia.
What we're seeking to do is ensure that there is a global agreement, that is that all countries sign up, that all countries meet the commitments that they give, and that there be regular reviews.
Australia's participation in international climate talks and the international climate conferences are about the development of a binding international treaty so that we can actually stop the planet from cooking. You know, the Paris Agreement said that we're trying to keep climate change below 2 degrees, and in fact we're going to aspire for it to be 1.5 degrees. This will become a treaty at some point in the near future, a binding treaty in which each nation is signing on. When it becomes a treaty, I think we'll have a really interesting discussion inside the Federation because, yes, the states right now have got constitutional responsibility for managing land-based activities such as tree clearing and the management of rivers and forests and what have you. That's true. That is there. It's enshrined in the Constitution. At the same time, however, our national government is entering into, and has previously entered into, a series of international agreements, binding treaty agreements. That's going to raise a range of really interesting constitutional powers that I don't think have been considered really since the Franklin Dam case and the issues that occupied the High Court in the early 1990s, where similar arguments were made about the rights of the states to be able to destroy the Franklin River and the overriding rights of the national government to go and respect and protect World Heritage areas. So it's a really fascinating constitutional issue coming up.